I only went abroad to grab a useless degree, but the second I landed, high society went wild. Rumor has it I'm the white moonlight of some cold-hearted female CEO of the one she loved and lost. This is bad. As a veteran web novel reader, I know how these substitute tropes go. Usually, when the first love returns, he gets utterly ruined, family ruined, and my ashes scattered just to spice up the main couple's romance. Looking at this cold-hearted devil woman stepping out of her pink Ferrari, is it too late to buy a standing room ticket back to Miami tonight? Seriously, keep me out of your trashy substitute romance novels. Stop coming over here. By the way, my name is Zhang. I'm the youngest son of the Zhang family, the richest household in our elite circle. If I had to describe my life in one word, it would be boring. While other wealthy families staged bloody succession battles over their inheritance, complete with poison, staged car accidents, and forged wills but in our family, that drama doesn't exist at all. I have an older brother, Jiang Ziha, and an older sister, Jiang. They're fraternal twins who have spent over 20 years fighting over who gets to be the older sibling. To this day, neither of them will back down. In fact, they've never called each other brother or sister. As for me, I turned into a complete slacker who has zero need to work hard. With an older brother and sister ahead of me, the family business will never be my problem. Since I don't have to try, I can spend money completely guilt-free. So, I packed my bags and spent 4 years traveling abroad. I seamlessly hopped between yachts in Miami and ski resorts in the Alps. Finally, backed by my family's deep pockets, I secured a shiny business administration degree. I was ready to return home and continue my life as a full-time rich kid. Back then, my friends at home constantly fed me all the juicy high society gossip. Just a month before I returned, a massive rumor broke out. One of them said, "Hey Chun, have you heard? Kyoto's newest ice cream CEO is so desperate for her long-lost first love who went abroad that she found a poor college student who looks just like him to be a substitute. They say they're in the middle of some crazy, toxic romance right now." My buddy old Lee was practically spitting gossip through the voice chat. Yeah, exactly. They say that CEO is incredibly possessive. She showers the kid with credit cards and luxury apartments. But as long as that substitute wears a plain white shirt and looks at her with those stubborn, unyielding eyes, her heart melts instantly. My other buddy, Old Wong, chimed in too. Hearing this back then, I nearly spat out my sugar-free What kind of brain-dead web novel plot was this? The first love only went abroad. He did not catch some terminal illness. If she missed him, why not just hop on a private jet and go see him? Is she too broke to pay for aviation fuel? Why find a substitute? I laughed at this ridiculous drama for days. Fast forward 1 month later, at Kyoto International Airport, I was wheeling my limited edition Pink Fox suitcase out of the VIP terminal. I took a deep breath of the familiar domestic smog. I honestly expected my twin siblings to greet me with a fleet of Rolls-Royce Phantoms and some tacky banner welcoming the third young master back from his studies. Instead, the arrival gate was completely empty. There was no sign of Jiang Zihao nor Jiang Zi. Even my parents were missing. I could practically hear the sad background music playing. Just as I pulled out my phone to complain in the family group chat, a wildly flashy pink Ferrari fought rolled up, its engine roaring deeply as it gleamed under the afternoon sun. The car stopped right in front of me, and the window slid down. In the driver's seat sat a woman. She slipped off a pair of Tom Ford sunglasses that covered half her face, revealing a stunning but freezing She looked well over 5'7", and even sitting down, her long legs were hard to ignore. She was wearing a perfectly tailored black custom suit over a silk blouse. Her red lips were slightly pursed, radiating an aura so icy that the surrounding air felt like it dropped 10 degrees. "Zhang Zikon, welcome home," she said. Her voice was just as cold as her gaze, practically warning everyone to stay away. I froze for 5 whole seconds, desperately searching my memory for her face. Finally it clicked. "Wait, are you Senior Liu Yu?" I asked in disbelief. This was the eldest daughter of Kyoto's elite Liu family, a girl who was 2 grades above me in high school. Word was she had taken over her family's empire with ruthless efficiency, earning a reputation as our circle's most beautiful and intimidating CEO. She was always cold back in school, but seeing her now, she was absolute ice. Her commanding presence was overwhelming, making a slacker like me feel incredibly small. "Your brother and sister got into another fight," Lu Qinchuan said bluntly as she stepped out and opened the passenger door. "Your parents are currently in Australia. I was passing by, so I figured I'd pick you up. Get in." Since no one else was coming, I was too lazy to call a cab, so I tossed my suitcase in and slid into the passenger seat. On the drive, she stayed focused on the road, occasionally glancing at me with a weird, unreadable expression. "How were your years abroad?" she suddenly asked while we were stopped at a red light. Her voice sounded slightly softer than it had before. "Pretty great," I replied. "Honestly, just fishing, skiing, and partying. Aside from some jet lag in the beginning, it was perfect." She went quiet for a few seconds, seemingly caught off guard. Then, she lowered her eyes. "You've changed," I stared at her. "Lady, we were never even close back then. What do you mean, changed? What does that even mean? The sports car sped down the road and pulled up in front of my family's villa. I muttered a quick thanks, grabbed my luggage, and sprinted inside. Without even a polite goodbye, she stepped on the gas, and the pink Ferrari roared away, vanishing from sight. Back in my room, without even changing my clothes, the first thing I did was rush to my gaming room. I booted up my top-tier Alienware computer and hopped on the voice channel. "Boys, your king has returned. Get online right now," I yelled. During my years studying abroad, I had spent countless nights gaming with these guys. But because of that awful high latency, I was always the laggy anchor dragging the team down. They never let me live it down. Today, though, I was going to show them the power of zero ping. A few games in, I was absolutely on fire, racking up kills. You guys seeing this? Look at that. Behold the glory of zero lag. As the pentakill notification flashed across my screen, I slammed the keyboard and leaned back with a satisfied sigh. After 4 long years of playing with 200 ping and getting wrecked, I had finally redeemed myself. Right then, Old Lee's voice crackled through my headset. Yeah, you're a god," he muttered. "Without that ping holding you back, you're an esports legend. But seriously, pace yourself. Save some energy for the night tonight." I took a long sip of my ice-cold cola. What's happening tonight? I was planning to grind rank until dawn to make up for lost time. "Forget grinding rank," Old Wong yelled. "Our third young master has finally returned home from exile. Of course, we have to throw you a proper welcome party. We already booked the venue, the biggest penthouse suite at Club 9. Everyone from our circle is coming to celebrate your big return." I raised an eyebrow. Club 9 was a legendary luxury hotspot in our circle, known for being incredibly expensive and exclusive. Usually, these guys are absolute cheapskates, but they really went all out for me today. "Well, I guess you guys do care about me after all," I said with a lazy stretch. "So, what time?" 8 p.m. sharp, Old Lee chuckled. "Don't you dare be late. A lot of people heard you're back and are dying to see you. Some guys even started a betting pool, wagering that all those years of burgers and fries turned you into a 200-pound whale." "Shut up. I am lean with clothes on, and absolutely shredded with them off. I'm better looking than ever." I laughed. It wasn't like my cards got frozen. With money, eating well abroad is incredibly easy. They have plenty of high-end Chinese restaurants. Anyway, stop talking trash. I'll see you at 8. Tonight, we drink until we drop. I hung up and glanced at the clock. It was only 4:30 p.m., which left me a few hours before the party. I yawned and decided to grab a quick shower and a nap. Flying for over 10 hours followed by intense gaming would drain even an Iron Man. At 8 p.m., I pushed open the heavy brass doors of Club 9's penthouse suite. Deafening music and flashing neon lights hit me instantly. Well, look who finally decided to show up. Our zero-lag gaming legend himself. Old Lee yelled, being the first to spot me as he raised his glass. "You've got an even more handsome tune," he said, walking over. "Good to see you too, man," I replied. Around the room, a dozen wealthy heirs from our social circle started cheering, instantly pumping up the energy. I didn't stand on ceremony, playfully punching each of them before sinking into the leather sofa. At the center, the table was packed with bottles of Ramani Conti, Ace of Spades, champagne, and luxury dishes like Wagyu beef and lobster. Since landing, I'd spent my time gaming and sleeping without eating a single bite, so my stomach was growling loudly. I picked up some chopsticks and immediately started stuffing my face. As I ate, I listened to these guys swap stories. After a few rounds of drinks, the mood was flying high, and their inner gossips woke up. "Hey, have you guys heard?" Old Lee suddenly lowered his voice. "The Ice Queen CEO from the Liu family caused a massive scene earlier today." Everyone leaned in closer. "What happened? Is that poor substitute getting tortured again?" Old Wong asked, intrigued. "Forget the substitute. The actual guy is back." Old Lee slapped his thigh, looking like a neighborhood gossip king. "Word is Liu Qingswan canceled a massive multi-million-dollar meeting today, just so she could drive her flashy pink Ferrari to the airport and pick up her beloved first love." "No way. Seriously. Is the substitute getting fired then?" "Of course. Now that the real deal is back, who cares about the cheap nut? But honestly, I'm dying to know what this guy looks like to have President Louis, so head over heels." I was currently chewing on a juicy piece of steak. Hearing this, I laughed to myself. This Liu Qingswan was absolutely unhinged. She must have read too many trashy romance novels. Going all the way to the airport to pick someone up. Wait. My chewing suddenly froze. Right then, Old Lee turned to look at me. "Oh, by the way, Chun, didn't you just land today too? Did you see her at the airport? Though even if she stood right in front of you, you probably wouldn't recognize her Ice Queen CEO face. But that pink Ferrari is so flashy, you definitely would have noticed." Old Wong nodded in agreement. At that exact moment, my jaw froze me. I couldn't swallow, and I couldn't spit. The noisy, chaotic room suddenly went completely silent in my mind. My brain's CPU started spinning at 20,000 revolutions per second. Liu Qingswan is the female lead of this romance. And that flashy pink sports car, wait, the Ferrari of Fate is a two-seater. Today, in that car, Liu Qingswan was driving, and I was sitting in the passenger seat. So, Where the hell was this supposedly beloved first love sitting? Was he strapped to the bottom of the car, or stuffed into the trunk with my pink fox suitcase? If there was no third person in that car, then there was only one terrifying explanation. I am the clown. I am the legendary first love they've been gossiping about. The one who left for years while she found a poor substitute. Holy crap. A cold shiver ran from my heels straight to my skull, and just passing by to pick me up. She went completely out of her way. It all makes perfect sense. Now Chun, what's wrong? Did you choke? Old Lee asked, noticing my pale, frozen face, and handed me a glass of water. I gasped, chugging the water down to try and quiet the screaming in my head. Forcing a stiff smile, I tried to play it cool. The airport was just packed. I was so focused on my bags that I didn't notice any pink Ferraris, didn't see a thing. I looked perfectly calm, but I was secretly panicking. Was I really stuck in some trashy web novel? As a veteran web novel reader of 10 years, I knew these old-school substitute tropes inside out. In these stories, what does the first love's return actually mean? It means the main plot is officially starting, which also means the first love is stepping onto a countdown to his own doom. He either gets killed off once the female lead realizes she actually loves the substitute, allowing the main couple to have their happy ending, or he gets discarded as she desperately tries to win back the substitute after breaking his heart. Either way, things never end well for the first love. Before the whip and candle torture even starts, the white moonlight gets absolutely wrecked, and the male lead still won't forgive him. Forced happy ending. Basically, his fate is pure misery. Is it too late for me to fly back to Miami? Just then, the heavy brass door was swung open from the outside without warning. The rich kids who were howling karaoke and playing drinking games instantly went dead silent. Everyone whipped their heads toward the door. Standing there all alone was Liu. She had already changed out of her daytime business suit and wore a stunningly hot, wine-red haute couture velvet gown, with a black coat casually draped over her shoulders. Her icy, powerful boss lady aura instantly silenced the entire VIP lounge. Under everyone's shocked and awestruck gazes, Liu Qingjuan ignored everyone and clicked her high heels straight toward me. The room was dead silent, except for her footsteps, which felt like they were stomping right on my jugular. Under everyone's watchful eyes, she pulled out the empty chair next to me, sat down naturally, and her face, usually as cold as a Siberian winter, actually bloomed with an incredibly bright, sweet smile. That tender coo of my name Zikong instantly gave me goosebumps, making both my kidneys scream in terror. Before I could even react, she suddenly leaned over and threw her arm around my neck, dragging me close. A wave of aggressive, luxury perfume hit me as our cheeks were forced together. She held up her phone, aimed the camera, and clicked. The flash went off. A photo of my face, part terror, part confusion, and pure panic next to her sweet smile was born. Unbelievable. I already knew exactly where this photo was going. The classic substitute romance social media post, right? Then, Liu Qingjuan smoothly pocketed her phone, grabbed my arm, and turned to face the room of dumbfounded wealthy heirs and, though still smiling, said in a tone that brooked no argument, "Enjoy your night, everyone. I'm taking him home." With that, she dragged me out like a human accessory, leaving a room full of dropped jaws. Before I could even process what was happening, she hauled me away, leaving old Lee and old Wong standing there in utter bewilderment. By the time my brain short-circuited and I was shoved into her pink Ferrari, I still had no idea what was happening. Or maybe my brain was in denial, hoping it was all a dream. Surprisingly, she didn't do anything. She just smoothly drove me back to the Jiang family villa. The atmosphere in the car was incredibly eerie. Liu Qingjuan, who had just been sweet-talking and calling me Zhao, immediately did a complete face turn once we got in. She reverted right back to her cold, aloof, icy female CEO persona. Holding the steering wheel with one hand, she stared straight ahead, as cold as a morgue slab with the air conditioning blasted. Sitting in the passenger seat, I felt like I was on pins and needles. I cleared my throat several times, wanting to ask what her deal was, but every time I met those icy eyes that seemed to pierce my soul, the words died in my throat, and I swallowed them back down. When we arrived, she just gave a slight nod, slammed on the gas, and roared away, leaving me with the cold glow of her pink tail. The next morning, the sky fell. Before I even woke up, my phone was burning hot from WeChat notifications. The entire elite circle was in an uproar over Club 9. Everyone was talking about a massive earthquake in our social circle. Rumors were flying everywhere that Liu Qingjuan's mysterious white moonlight had finally appeared, and it was none other than me, the Jiang family's third young master, just back from studying abroad. Even the gossip tabloids had their headlines ready. Shocking. The icy female CEO's substitute romance ends as the white moonlight returns. They even had photos of her dragging me out of Club 9 and into the Ferrari. How did they even take photos that fast? With those reflexes, they could make a fortune as paparazzi. Nursing dark circles under my eyes, I stared at my tablet in utter despair, clutching these gossip articles, and slowly raised my head to look across the long dining table. Sitting there was my oldest sister, wearing a sleek haute couture suit, She elegantly sipped black coffee, while staring at me like a pig that was finally fat enough to sell for a good price. Her gaze made my skin crawl. I swallowed hard, quietly sliding my chair back. Shrinking my neck, I let out a nervous chuckle. Sis, I just remembered. I think I left my keys back in America. It's kind of urgent. I need to fly back and get them. As I spoke, I stood up and prepared to bolt, but she didn't even look up. She just slammed her coffee cup onto the table. 2 words, devoid of emotion, yet carrying the absolute authority of the true family boss. The leg I had just stepped out with instantly snapped back. Obediently, I sat back down, hands on my knees, showing absolute obedience. She put down her tablet and rubbed her temples, her voice dripping with exhaustion. Don't even think about running. Your useless older brother booked a flight to Japan overnight, claiming he's researching the anime market, but he actually just ran off to Akihabara to wash his hands of everything. Now this entire family mess is on my shoulders. Yet Big Bro really crossed the line this time. I chimed in, trying to show solidarity with her. Whether he crossed the line doesn't matter. What matters is you. Her sharp, business-savvy eyes instantly locked onto mine, gleaming with the light of a ruthless capitalist. I heard about last night. Not bad. Little brother, or should I say, the big CEO's white moonlight. Sis, let me explain. It's a complete misunderstanding. Just a trope. Shut up and let me finish. She cut me off and began a fierce, logic-heavy analysis. The way Liu Qingshuan has handled the Liu family these past 2 years is obvious to everyone. She's a rare business genius. She paused, her eyes growing increasingly fanatical. If you can marry her, not only will our families form a powerful alliance providing huge support to the Zhang family, but most importantly, she took a deep breath, revealing her true motive. Most importantly, she's a workaholic. Once she marries in, I can dump half of my workload onto her. Then, I can finally take a proper vacation in the mall. I stared blankly at my sister and started screaming internally. Are you even listening to yourself? You're not my sister. You're a tyrant. Just so you can go to the Maldives, you're throwing your own brother into a fiery pit. She has absolutely no idea how terrifying the substitute romance trope is. If I reject Liu Qingshuan, I'd be lucky to survive at all. In those cheesy novel tropes, if the white moonlight stays abroad and remains a memory, fine. But once they return and try to marry the female lead, do you think I'll survive? Not just me. Even the Zhang family won't have it easy. But you workaholics who don't read web novels wouldn't understand. Still, even though I'm a slacker, I refuse to be a slacker who just waits to die. Based on my years of reading novels, the only reason the white moonlight ends up miserable is because they are too arrogant. Those brainless white moonlights always rush to provoke the substitute once they return, saying stuff like, I'm back, you can get lost, you're just my shadow. Trashing the substitute like that instantly pulls massive aggro, triggering his ultimate protagonist revenge arc and turning him into an overpowered hidden boss. Who knows if that poor-looking substitute is secretly some legendary medical master or the commander of a massive underworld army. To prevent absolute chaos in the city, I decided to meet with this substitute and clear things up. No sooner said than done. I bolted upright, grabbed my phone, and called Old Lee. Hey Old Lee, I want to meet with Liu Qingshuan's substitute. Before I could even finish, Old Lee gasped in panic. What the hell's he? Are you already going to war to reclaim your throne? Reclaim what throne? Why is everyone so dramatic? Anyway, Old Lee managed to arrange a meeting with the guy. That was when I found out his name was Zhou Yan, and he was actually Liu Qingshuan's assistant. Damn, are things this wild back home now. At 2 in the afternoon, in a highly private high-end cafe right under Liu Qingshuan's office, I was already sitting there. You guys sure know how to pick a cafe, don't you? But complaining was useless at this point. After a short wait, the man from the photo Old Lee sent finally walked in. He wore a crisp black suit with a Liu Group employee badge on his chest. After looking around, he walked straight to my table. Yep, definitely Zhou Yan. But I noticed a major problem. This guy was handsome, but did he look anything like me? Aside from both being male, we had absolutely zero in common. What kind of substitute is this? I thought it was just a bad photo, but he looked completely different in person too. And I don't know if it was just my imagination, but even though he wore makeup, he actually looked a bit like Liu Qing. I couldn't help but recall some weird trivia. If 2 people kiss a lot, they start looking alike. The resemblance between Zhou Yan and Liu Qingjuan meant they must kiss for at least 2 hours. A day there couldn't actually be siblings, right? Probably not. I shook my head to clear these wild thoughts. Just as I was about to speak, Zhou Yan, sitting opposite me, suddenly clapped his hands twice without warning. The sudden noise startled me. While I was wondering what he was doing, he took a deep breath, pitched his voice high, and dramatically cried, I know I shouldn't have come back. I'll leave right now. I instinctively looked around in confusion. Before I could process this, his expression shifted, seamlessly switching back to his normal voice, coldly saying, Then stop bothering Qingshuan and me. A white moonlight belongs in memories, not reality. I was utterly dumb. Dude, what are you doing? performing a solo drama, or having a split personality episode. While I sat there, jaw dropped, completely bewildered, Lu Qingshuan suddenly burst out like a gust of wind. Without a word, she raised her hand and slapped the substitute hard slap. The sound was sharp and loud. Her eyes were cold as she glared at him and said, "The one who should leave is you. You're just a substitute I found. Now that Zakan is back, know your place." I was completely shocked. Why was she here? Looking at Zhou Yan clutching his face, I wanted to explain. He didn't. I started, but before I could finish, she whipped around, cupped my face, and asked with deep concern, "Does it hurt?" No. I tried to deny it, but she cut me off again, her voice firm and dominant. "Don't worry, I will make this right. Sis, can you please let me speak?" My face was covered, and every time I opened my mouth, I was cut off. I couldn't get a single word in. After some dramatic back and forth between them, she shoved him aside, grabbed my arm, and dragged me out to apply medicine from the cafe right into the president's office at the Liu Group, walking through the lobby and taking the private elevator. I could feel the suited employees blatantly yet subtly staring at me. It felt like a zoo that had just received an incredibly rare animal, only to find out it was Ultraman. It made me incredibly my toes practically clawing a hole in the floor from pure embarrassment. We finally made it inside. With a click, she closed the heavy door, walked over to the sofa, and pulled out a delicate first aid kit. I took a deep breath, deciding it was time to end this absurd farce. Senior, you've really misunderstood. I wasn't even sure. She suddenly leaned in, pressing her fair, slender index finger gently against my lips to quiet me. Then she pulled out a cotton swab dipped in some mysterious clear ointment and gently applied it to my face, which didn't have a single scratch. As she drew close, an icy, aggressive fragrance washed over me. Staring at a beautiful face so close to mine, I swallowed hard. To be fair, putting aside the deadly substitute romance drama, her face was indeed breathtakingly beautiful. Now that her student-era innocence had faded, replaced by her high and mighty boss lady aura and cold, aloof temperament, she was more stunning than ever. She was incredibly intimidating. It was my first time looking at her this closely since coming back to the country. I had to admit, she perfectly checked all my boxes. But then I remembered those web novels where the pure love interest always ends up with her kidneys harvested or family ruined. That tragic fate. Instantly a massive red alert went off in my head. I quickly repeated a mantra of tragic endings, which felt like a bucket of ice water dumped over my head, brutally crushing that sudden spark of attraction and completely wiping out any romantic thoughts. I pinched it right in the cradle. "All done, Liu," Qingshuan said, tossing the cotton swab. Her tone softened slightly. "To apologize for being rude, let me buy you dinner tonight." No, I am good." I instinctively waved her off. "Are you kidding? Dinner with her? As if my life is not chaotic enough." The warmth on her face instantly vanished, and the air froze. She narrowed her eyes with a trace of dangerous obsession. "Are you still angry at him, or do you blame me for letting you get hurt?" "No, wait." I waved frantically. Before I could explain, she was already moving like a whirlwind. He grabbed the office intercom, put it on speaker, and said in a dead, freezing voice, "Have security tie up that useless trash downstairs and throw him to the crocodiles." Wait, what the hell is this even legal? I was terrified. We live in a civilized society. Man, sister, is your crazy boss persona a bit too extreme? I will eat, okay? I will eat. Sweating bullets. I nodded frantically, on the verge of tears. Only then did she smirk with satisfaction. I originally thought her idea of buying me dinner meant some Michelin-starred restaurant. Instead, that hot pink Ferrari took a few turns and drove straight into an exclusive, ultra-luxury residential area, pulling right into the garage of a massive mansion. But my house was literally a few doors down. Watching the garage door slowly close, I felt completely uneasy. Is it too late to run home? She was way too prepared. Inside the massive villa, there was not a single maid in sight. She obviously sent them home early. What does she want tonight? The thought terrified me. In the blink of an eye, I was already sitting at her dining table. She had taken off her coat and changed into a very form-fitting silk slip dress. Damn it! When did she change? I was not prepared for this. She opened a bottle of red wine, poured it into a decanter, and served her freshly seared tomahawk steaks. "Eat," she said, sitting across from me and swirling her glass. Her eyes looked incredibly deep in the dim light. I sat up straight, staring at my steak. The utensils felt heavy as if we are having dinner, why bring me home? And if we are at your house, fine, but why dismiss all the staff? If nothing fishy's going on, Zhang Zikan, will eat her Ferrari on the spot. Seeing me hesitate, she raised an eyebrow. What is wrong? Not to your taste? Or are you worried I spiked your drink? Of course not. I just did not want to ruin this beautiful presentation. I gave a forced laugh, sucked it up, and cut a piece of steak. I did not touch a drop of the wine. But honestly, the steak was surprisingly amazing. Seeing me eat, she started making small talk, asking how I was doing abroad, and then shifting to my relationship status. "Sister, You are my biggest relationship problem. I took small bites, chatting casually, but as I kept eating, I realized something was wrong. Does this multi-million-dollar luxury villa have terrible air conditioning? The AC was blasting, yet I felt burning up inside. A strange heat surged from my stomach straight to my head. To my horror, I found Liu Qingswan looking incredibly attractive. The perfect curves of her silk dress, her slightly flushed cheeks, and her lazy gaze as she swirled her glass were pushing my sanity as a normal guy to the absolute limit. No, this is bad. This steak is too hot. Wait. No, the room is too hot. I made an excuse, jumped up, loosened my collar, and stumbled into the first-floor bathroom. I turned on the tap and desperately splashed freezing water on my face, trying to drown the fire inside me. Okay, the wine was fine, but the steak was definitely spiked. I should have tested it first. Just as I was catching my breath at the sink, the door flew open, and her familiar, sweet fragrance filled the air. She had followed me in. She wrapped her arms around me from behind, her burning hot body pressing tight against my back. I could clearly feel her softness as her slender arms locked around my waist. Zicken, she whispered close to my ear, her voice dripping with obsessive desire. Don't hold back anymore. Take me. The last thread of my sanity snapped completely. In that moment, all those fears of tragic endings were thrown out the window. Pure desire took control. Simply put, my animal instincts took over. I spun around, pinned her against the cold tile wall, and kissed her passionately. When I opened my eyes again, it was already 2 p.m. the next day. Rubbing my aching lower back, I stared blankly at the ceiling, my mind completely empty. Last night flooded back. She is completely out of her mind. She actually drugged me. I need to search if that stuff has any side effects. I turned my head mechanically. She was still fast asleep next to me, her brow slightly furrowed, looking absolutely exhausted. I have to admit, it was intense. I was like a tireless machine, keeping at it the entire night. Honestly, I felt like my kidneys were completely spent. But what shocked me the most and completely shattered my reality was that messy, damp bedsheet showing a bright red spot blooming on it. Click. Suddenly the front door unlocked downstairs. Since we went wild last night, our bedroom door was wide open, making the noise incredibly loud. Then, a very familiar male voice echoed through the empty living room filled with excitement and gossip. Sis, are you awake? How did it go? Did you guys absolutely crush it last night? My heart leaped as I bolted upright. I scrambled to throw on some clothes and tiptoed to the stairs to peek down. There was Joe Yen, the guy who got slapped in the cafe yesterday. He was slouched on the couch, holding car keys, wearing a smug, triumphant grin. On the coffee table were some takeout bags. Just then, he sensed something and looked up. Our eyes locked, and the air completely froze. His grin vanished, his eyes widening like saucers. He stared at me disheveled and holding my aching back. And then at the half-open master bedroom door, he leaped off the sofa, turned stiffly, and muttered with a forced laugh as he edged toward the exit. I think I left my keys at the office. Why does that sound so familiar? Whatever. Just as his hand touched the doorknob, ready to run, I practically teleported to his side and slammed the door shut. Standing behind him, I spoke in a chilling voice. Sis. Hearing him call her that, and seeing how much they looked alike, a bolt of lightning struck my mind. All the pieces clicked. He shuddered, turning his head stiffly like a scared kitten, looking ready to cry. Get over here. I pointed to the sofa, and for the next hour I uncovered the whole story. Turns out, Joe Yan was actually her long-lost half-brother. Her dad had been incredibly accurate, one shot, one hit. He grew up with his mom, was brought back by chance, and they kept him a secret from the public. Liu Qingswan had cooked up this crazy reverse substitute scheme just to trap me, forcing her stepbrother to play along. Seriously, could you not just ask me out directly? How insecure is she about her own looks? With her face, she is an absolute goddess. Anyway, she was probably woken up by our voices. After some rustling footsteps, she walked down wearing a loose bathrobe, her legs clearly feeling as heavy as lead. Holding the handrail, she hobbled down with great difficulty. When she reached the landing and saw the living room, she froze. I was sitting dead center on the main sofa, looking like an imposing mafia boss ready to lay down the law. Next to me, the substitute Joe Yan sat stiffly, head down, looking like a schoolboy who just got chewed out by the principal. Hearing her come down, I slowly looked up at her, watching her face go from pale to bright red. My expression, on the other hand, was dark as soup. Our eyes locked, and the room went dead silent. Finally, I broke the awkward silence, this bizarre silence. I said sarcastically, well, Madam CEO, you are really something. You kept this so well hidden. I scoffed, pointing at Joe Yan, who had his head buried in his lap. Come down and tell me all about your little drama. How many episodes is this CEO and her secret substitute brother blockbuster going to have? Need me to call a director and put it on TV? Her normally freezing, elegant face completely cracked, her cold persona shattered into pieces that could not be glued back together. Sensing trouble, Joe Yan slid off the sofa, Sis brother-in-law, since you have family matters to discuss, I will leave. Food is on the table. My friend's grandma is getting married. Gotta go. And he sprinting out the door without looking back. The massive living room was left with just me and her. She bit her lip, took a deep breath, and tried to regain her commanding posture. But after just 2 steps, she winced and gasped in pain. Seeing her struggle to walk, my anger mysteriously vanished. After all, it was my doing. I sighed, walked over, and held her arm. Do not judge me. I am not doing any better. My legs are shaking too. I cannot carry you. That teleportation earlier was pure adrenaline. I walked her to the sofa and gently helped her down. Pulling up a chair across from her, I crossed my arms in interrogation mode. Alright, tell me, with your looks you could have any guy. Why did you play this crazy substitute game? Do you know I was ready to book a ticket and run away? She hung her head, nervously playing with her robe belt, completely losing her fierce boss vibe. After a long pause, she mumbled, you always had so many girls around you in school, and you were a known playboy. What if you rejected me, thinking I was just another basic girl? I was speechless. So you decided on this forced love drama? Your sister said it as contrast and excitement. She stopped mid-sentence, realizing her slip, and slapped her hand over her mouth in horror. Wait, what does my sister have to do with this? After a thorough interrogation, she finally confessed everything. We're old acquaintances. Months before I returned, she had confessed her long-time crush on me to my sister. My sister's eyes lit up, and she immediately became her mastermind wingman, designing this elaborate trap. Your sister also said you like the cold, elegant type, but you did not seem to like it when I drove you home. Should I change back? So the substitute, the airport pickup, and the drama were all scripted by my sister. She nodded obediently. Yeah, she even gave me your flight details. He was even the one who dug up the room number and sent it to me. I literally saw stars. It felt like the worst student in class copying off the second worst. What a legendary duo. One actually dared to write the script and the other actually dared to act it out. I took a deep breath, gritted my teeth, and asked the final, absolute deal breaker. What about the drug from last night? Lu Qingshuan lowered her head even further, her face turning as red as a freshly boiled lobster. She mumbled, I didn't have any experience, so I accidentally put too much. But don't worry, it's totally harmless. Do you think I actually bought that? Looking at the gorgeous CEO sitting across from me, whose ice queen persona had completely shattered, yet who remained breathtakingly beautiful, I let out a long sigh. Oh well, what's done is done. I already sacrificed my lower back last night. But honestly, who could blame me? She is literally my dream girl. I reached out, grabbed her before she could even react, and pulled her right into my lap. I gave her hot, blushing cheek a playful pinch. Fine, I muttered. You to win. But since I've fallen into your hands, President Liu, you are stuck with me for the rest of our lives. 6 weeks later, we tied the knot. Why the rush, she asked. Well, that first night was so wild, she ended up pregnant right away. I even secretly joked that my new father-in-law's family has some insanely powerful genetics. One shot, one hit. Talk about the tables turning. But with my wife pregnant, someone had to step up and run her massive business empire. And that was when my poor brother-in-law Zhou Yan, who was supposed to be my finally reached his absolute peak. Or, more accurately, his darkest hour. Honestly, the poor kid, he was originally just her assistant, placed there by their grandfather to learn the ropes under his tyrant of an older sister. The moment she got pregnant, my wife threw the company keys onto his desk and dragged me home to focus on her pregnancy. Poor Zhou Yan was forced into the pilot's seat way too early. He went from a coffee-fetching assistant to the ultimate corporate slave, working 24/7. Now, he's stuck in the CEO's office every single day, completely exhausted. He doesn't even have time to breathe, let alone play the lead in some dramatic substitute romance. But honestly, the best part has to be the sweet revenge on my older sister. Karma's a beautiful thing. She had already packed her son hats and bikinis for a dream vacation. But the moment she saw my wife's ultrasound report, the look on her face was absolutely priceless. It was more twisted than if she had swallowed a whole plate of raw, bitter gourd. She had planned everything so perfectly. She even sold out her own flesh and blood brother to a supposed ice queen just to lighten her own workload. And yes, our two families did merge into a massive powerhouse. But now, my pregnant wife is treated like royalty by both households. Forget about having her help with our family business. Now if my wife so much as reaches for a heavy folder, my sister panics and screams. Put that down, let me do it. My dear sister's dream of playing beach volleyball in the mall has officially gone up in flames. Not only did she fail to dump her work on us, but since my wife is on maternity leave, she actually has to help manage operations for both companies now. So, my brilliant, plotting sister is stuck in her office all day, swearing under her breath as she reviews endless mountains of paperwork. She is working like a rented mule. I still don't know where my older brother is. He did not even make it back for my wedding. But who cares? Let's talk about me. Jung Zikun was supposed to be the tragic first love in this ridiculous drama. Instead, my daily routine consists of taking walks with my gorgeous, ice queen wife, playing some video games and posting photos of myself eating expensive, Importy fruit in the family group chat. It is the perfect way to troll my sister and brother-in-law while they are drowning in work. You might ask if the tragic first love in these stories always suffers. Well, despite the crazy twists, living off my wealthy wife like a king is absolutely glorious. Meanwhile, far across the ocean in Japan, my older brother Jengzi is happily strolling down the street, holding hands with a cute local girl. But right behind him, a boy from next door is hiding behind a tree. His eyes are locked onto their joined hands, tears of jealousy streaming down his face as he whimpers,